Forward to get to the gap. With MagMongoSlade. Shoot. He don't miss.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. Today, the topic of discussion all around the internet is Jade Cargill and her official signing with the WWE, which has been treated as an absolute massive deal. For starters, it was announced on ESPN. WWE has tweeted about it. Triple H has tweeted about it. There's pictures of her in the Performance Center. There's video of her walking towards the Performance Center. They're literally documenting her entire road to the WWE right now. It's been a pretty big topic of discussion at this point. A lot of people have they've had some takes. Not all of the takes are good. We're going to talk about some of those takes today. We're not going to do a full Smarks Tears. I don't think enough people are upset enough to do that. But, of course, you've seen some takes that are worth discussing on the subject. So I'm going to give mine. Then I'm going to talk about a couple of podcasters who have had some takes that I thought were kind of shocking. And some so not so shocking. Then we're going to wrap things up. So first, now that it's official, how do I feel about Jade Cargill joining the WWE roster? And I feel like it is the right thing to do. The problem with Jade Cargill in AEW is she had reached a ceiling. Despite the fact that she was there for 3 years and she only lost 2 matches the entire time, she was not really treated like a star. Now you may say, well, what do you mean? She won all these matches. She had big entrances. It's like, yeah, but how many feuds did she have? 2? 3, maybe? She had a couple of abandoned storylines like the Baddies. That thing came and went. It didn't last very long. You know, like there was never a legitimate focus on the strengths of Jade Cargill. AEW does not focus on the strengths of people who are not work rate talent. Jade Cargill is an incredible look. She has a good story. And she is a role model. There's a lot of positivity around Jade Cargill. But all people care about is whether you can wrestle when it comes to AEW. No, she doesn't have a wrestling background. You didn't train her enough. She doesn't know really what the hell she's doing. She can do enough to get through a match. Granted, she has the right opponent. But it's your fault for not making sure she had the right opponents. It's your fault for not challenging her, which is one of the things I kept yelling about on this channel. It's time to challenge Jade. It's time to put her in there with people who are much better than she is, that she can learn from. The Serena Deebs, the Tony Storms, the Britt Bakers, the Thunder Rosas, you know, people like that, so that she could get better. They kept putting her in the ring mostly with people who are rookies like her, like Red Velvet and Kiera Hogan. Now, Kiera Hogan's been around for a while, but Kiera Hogan, despite the fact that she's been around for a while, she's not exactly known for her work rate. Sure, they did put Jade in there with Athena. They put her in there with Taya. And those matches were kind of But that's because Jade herself does not have a lot of experience. Jade Cargill, at this point in her career, which is just 3 years in, is, I guess you could say, Goldberg-ish or early stage John Cena. Yes, she's awkward because she's trying to get, they had more experience before they got to the point where they were winning titles and, dominating the roster than she had when they were doing the same thing with her. So she had the positioning, she had the presentation, but she didn't have the experience. She wasn't allowed to really get involved in terms of a storyline, to find herself as a character. Sure, she got to be somebody, the big statuesque, gorgeous, everything is about money, everything is about baddies, everything is about her. We get that. But she didn't really get a chance to grow. And that's what this move to WWE is about growth. And her taking the next step. She said in a podcast that she wants to have a legacy. She wants to be in the Hall of Fame. She's trying to inspire young black youth, and she wants to leave a legacy for her daughter. all this stuff that she's got, all these high-minded ideas that she's got, could she have achieved any of these in AEW? Probably not. Because as we see what AEW is, once you have your run, they pretty much push you to the side and then they focus on somebody else, which is typical of indie promotions, if we're being honest. Indie promotions, they give you a year-long title run, and then you cough up the belt, and then they're kind of like, well, we'll figure out what you do after that. You play the periphery a little bit. Maybe you get thrown in a tag team or something. But since she had the long title run, they didn't establish any feuds for her. And it was a big mistake, I think, not utilizing her to her fullest potential. And she's going to get all the resources necessary in WWE. And do I think she's going to be in NXT? I think she may make some appearances in NXT, but I don't see her being in NXT for the long haul. I think she's going to immediately move up to Raw or move up to SmackDown. Also, she's going to get to keep her name, which she said was very important to her, and which, because she has, a brand outside of WWE. She is an entrepreneur. All right, fine. I'm cool with that too. I kind of figured that whole thing where people was talking about this is going to be her new name. And I kind of figured that was going to be a little weird. So I am tepidly excited about this. The whole big marketing push behind her being signed, I'm a little skittish about that, because now you have raised the bar so much that when she finally does get in the ring, people are going to critique every single thing that happens. If she botches a move in her first match, if she trips and falls, if she doesn't look the best, if the match isn't that great, if you skimp out on the presentation, if you cheap out, if you give her some garbage theme music, if anything goes wrong within the first 90 days, people are going to absolutely rip this thing to shreds. And I think setting the bar so high, it makes her look like she's absolutely amazing and that she's a really great get for the company. One that they haven't had in a long time. They haven't had a really good get. I mean, Cody was pretty big, but Cody had worked there before. She's the first person since like AJ Styles that has come in and gotten a really decent push right out of the gate, and had never worked there previously. So this is going to be extremely interesting in terms of how they utilize her, what her first feud is going to be. Is she going to be a babyface or a heel? I'm guessing heel. And if I could criticize anything right now, my number one critique would be the massive push that they're doing right now. I wouldn't set the bar so high unless you were sure that you were going to get her in there with maybe Rip Rogers. Now, I'm almost certain this is not going to be a Sarah Del Rey, Matt Bloom thing. This feels like they're going to get the people who trained Bad Bunny, who trained Logan Paul, who trained Pat McAfee, where they took those guys and made them respectable wrestlers, at least for the nights that they performed. This feels like she's going to get that level of coaching. They're not going to cheap out on her coaching, and they really do need to put some effort into this, because now you set the bar so high, people are going to be watching. If folks never seen her before, they're going to want to know what the big deal is. And people who have seen her before are going to be just licking their chops to see whether WWE drops the ball or not. That would be my only criticism. I think bringing her in, maybe trying to train her in some ways, not in the performance center, but at somebody's private gym, and then letting that happen for a month or so, and then maybe do vignettes leading to her debut, maybe at the Royal Rumble. It would be preferable for her to get a higher level of coaching in a shorter amount of time, rather than being a part of this big class in the performance center, which I don't seem like that's what's going to happen. It seems like they're going to do something unique with her training, but she's actually going to get training, which is something that, when she was talking about working in AEW, specifically how she had to go learn from Danielson or Punk or somebody like that who actually took the time to teach her how to do things. she's actually open to learning. So that's going to be a positive. Maybe before she kind of had this idea where I don't need to wrestle, I don't need to do this, and she said that in one of her interviews too, that she doesn't need the money, she can be fine without wrestling, but she's got a passion for it and it's something she really wants to do. And that attitude, it rubs some people the wrong way, but I like it. Again, I like when wrestlers are not marks. They treat their job like a job at that point. It's not some shit where they messing around with their friends. This is a job. This is professional. Take it seriously. She seems like she's going to take herself seriously. She's going to take what she does seriously. And by definition, her opponents are going to have to take her seriously. Even if she does something wrong, she's going to be out there seriously trying to make a legacy, draw money, and be a star. And the company is going to get behind it. The only thing I have a problem with is that they seem to have gotten behind it a little too soon, because now the standards are so high and everybody's, going to be watching and paying very, very close attention. So let's get into some of these takes, just a few of them, from around the horn, to see how people are handling this Jade Cargill signing. All right. So Matt Kuhn, who was one of the individuals who was doing a podcast with FTR Bald, he posted this, and I want to actually expand on this a little bit. Great signing by WWE. Jade is awesome. Huge. But tacky as hell to announce this via press release in the wake of 20 talent releases just to rub it in the face of AEW. Now, this is part of a broader conversation that somebody else started a little bit earlier before that by saying, quote, I'm not going to say this person's name because I don't think they're a wrestling media figure or nothing. She works for SES Scoops. Okay, so it's somebody named Samantha. She works for SES Scoops. I didn't know she was a wrestling journalist. If she wasn't a journalist, I wasn't going to use her name, but since she's here. It says, quote, announcing you signed a new wrestler to a multi-year deal days after you fired a bunch of wrestlers is such a shitty thing to do. Unsurprising, but still tacky. Here's the amazing thing about this, is that if you watch sports, there's a lot of guys that get fired. A lot. Practice squad guys, second string guys, and they get cut year round. You was on the team, but now you're not on the team anymore. Guys who have been on the team for 4 years or 5 years get traded away. They get injured, you cut them, you put them on papers or whatever, you get rid of them. And then you get that new free agent, you're like, wow, this is great. How is it that wrestling fans don't understand that people come and go from jobs? And sometimes people coming in is a big deal. Sometimes people going out is a big deal. Dolph Ziggler getting fired recently it was a big deal. And it was an outpouring of love and respect from the very top. The Rock, John Cena, everybody was talking about how much they loved Dolph Ziggler and loved working with him and how great he was, etc. It wasn't necessarily a bad thing because they understand that rosters shake up. Tom Brady left the New England Patriots after being there for a decade or whatever. Joe Montana left the San Francisco 49ers. It happens. Why is it that wrestling fans are the only people who think that you have a job? You have one job. You have to have that job forever, regardless of anything. That is not realistic. You have to operate in the real world. In the real world, especially in the sports world, which wrestling is half sports, half theater. People get cut. If you are recruited and you don't make the cut, they let you go. If you start to diminish and you're already on the roster and they feel like you diminish, like Shelton Benjamin or Dolph Ziggler, they let you go. Even if it's not true, if the coach feels that you have diminished and they cut you and replace you with somebody else, that's the nature of the game. I don't hear this stuff on ESPN or anyone else. How tacky is it that you just cut 15 talent and then you sign a free agent and you're happy? How could that be? I'm going to clutch my pearls. That ain't realistic. That's not the real world. Stop being fake morally righteous. It's garbage and it's unseemly. Here's another one. This one doesn't mention Jade Cargill by name, but that's exactly what it's about. This is somebody who works for Monthly PROWRESTLING and also a wrestling journalist. One day, we're going to have a conversation about the general refusal of many black wrestling fans to support black wrestlers unless they're in WWE. Black wrestlers are killing it in AEW, Impact, New Japan, but they don't matter unless they're in WWE. Why is that? It's so stupid. Well, let me be honest with you. WWE is number one. There's some people only care about if you're at the top level. There might be great black baseball players, but they're all in AAA. They don't play for no major teams. Nobody cares. You know, unless you're into college football, there's a lot of black college football players that nobody cares about. You know, you can't be upset that people are really, really invested at the very top. And WWE is at the very top. Now, I could individually sit here and say, what black wrestler in Impact is tearing everything up? Because that's not entirely true. I mean, Moose was a world champion last year, but Moose isn't exactly great. And then I guess Trinity is there. And Trinity signing to Impact was a big deal for a short time. But nobody cares about anything that happens in Impact. So you're really trying to get blood out of a turnip when it comes to that. There really isn't that many black wrestlers in AEW being pushed. You know, and then when you start really asking that question, okay, what black wrestler in New Japan is kicking ass? Name one. I can't even name a black wrestler in New Japan. Is there one? I don't know when the last time I watched New Japan and saw... I was about to drop the N-bomb. I don't know when the last time I saw one in there. Maybe New Japan Strong. Maybe. But New Japan proper? What, is it Leo Rush? Is that who it is? Is what I'm talking about? Is the Leo Rush is in Best of Super Juniors or something like that? Come on, man. It's not nowhere near the same. All right? We're talking about black people being at their most visible. When black women main event at WrestleMania, that was a big deal. All right? When Bobby Lashley won the world title, that was a big deal. When Big E won the world title, that was a big deal. Yes, it was nice when Moose was the guy in Impact. That was nice. It was fine when Jonathan Gresham was the top guy in Ring of Honor. That was fine. For a lot of black wrestling fans, that was important. That was nice. Good. But it wasn't the same as when Kofi Kingston became the WWE champion. Because that's when you're at the top. You're at the top of the industry. You're at the top of the business. That's where people want to be. Hell, if you want to take it from there, a lot of black people who are fans of sports, they don't really care about middling black players. Even if they're exceptionally middling black players. You know, you could be a pretty good fighter, but you're not the world champion at anything. Okay, that's nice, but they really kind of care when you're the world champion. You know, they care when you're John Jones or you're Israel Adesanya or you're Lennox Lewis or Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali. Nobody cares when you're like a middling. Yeah, you got more wins than losses, but did you become world champion? Were you at the very top of your industry? No, then it's going to be hard for people to really get behind you and care about who you are. That's just natural. You want to bring the racial element to it, but it's not really the racial element. It's also the same with the gender element, the sexuality element, etc., etc. We've gone from the point of representation and visibility and all this kind of stuff to now it shouldn't be about representation and visibility at the highest levels. We should be paying attention even to the guys who are jobbing in Impact. We should be supporting them. It's like, why? Wait to, at some point he will become visible enough for people to know who he is, and then we can support him. Because, hey, if you've been following my channel, I was one of the biggest pushes for Will Hobbs, Powerhouse Hobbs in AEW, back when he was a jabroni, getting beat by Orange Cassidy, which is not that long ago. But I was pushing for him. So this channel is all about sometimes getting behind a talent because you want to see the brothers win. But I can't say that is a general rule that should be for everybody. I can't tell everybody how to think or what to think in that situation. People support Jade Cargill coming to WWE because they see her being treated like a big star. The belief is that she has the potential to be a big star, and now she's finally going to get that opportunity. I don't see a problem with it. So, to me, this seems very nonsensical. All right, this guy works for Voices of Wrestling. He says, Jade always had a ceiling in AEW because her in-ring work was never great. That ceiling or expectation isn't there in WWE. They think Dominic has upward potential. They'll watch anything. A denigration of the work ethic of both Dominic Mysterio and Jade Cargill. I mean, the kind of cage match wrestling dork.
Jade Cargill will never be a big star in AEW because she can't work. I mean, come on. She looks great, sure. But can she actually do a wrist lock? I mean, I've never seen her do a senton bomb.
Who gives a fuck? Really? Who cares, bro? I know this is supposed to be sort of a cheap shot on the WWE fan base. Oh, they like anything. The fact is they like to be entertained. And their version of entertainment doesn't necessarily mean 5-star classic match. It means interesting, engaging characters. And that's what they enjoy. What's the problem? You know? I don't see a lot of WWE fans going out of their way to make fun of you guys for, liking your 25-minute Orange Cassidy bore fest. I don't see a lot of WWE fans that just don't watch it. They don't care. There's a small sliver of the people who are invested in the tribalism that they go after them, But most people, they just choose not to watch. But it just goes to show the kind of mentality that the AEW fan base has. They're so elitist. They truly believe that their roster of wrestlers are so much better that, the WWE fans, you could have the scraps from our table. We will have the classic 5-star match, and we'll enjoy it because we're real wrestling fans. You people, all you care about are looks and entrance themes. It's like, okay, fine. Then we'll have our looks and entrance themes over here, and you can have your 5-star classic match over there, and everybody will be happy. How about that? But seemingly, this also comes from a very unhappy place. Are you wounded? You seem like you're taking this personally. And you probably shouldn't. It's just one wrestler going from one company to another. Who cares? All right, so the last one is going to be JD from New York. I know a lot of people saw this tweet coming. I saved this one for last. I actually have never read this whole thing. I just saw a screenshot of it. So let's get into it. He says, let's stir the pot. I find it funny how Jade Cargill got the ESPN treatment upon signing with WWE. She did nothing in AEW to warrant such an announcement and has nothing as far as a resume or career highlight goes. WWE is treating this like the biggest signing ever because of where she came from. They do things so strategically and with purpose. It's their way of saying, haha, now watch us do what you failed to do. The community doesn't help either, with tribal no-lifers acting like this is the end times for AEW, like Tony Khan isn't seeing this already, putting pen to paper on Mercedes coming in. She is reporting to the Performance Center, which is a start, but with such a major announcement, you better have her ready. I don't give a shit about what she looks like. She better get to where she is an equal to the top tier women in that company, if you are acting like she is one already. The microscope is ready and prepped. You know what? I actually agree with this last paragraph. As a matter of fact, I said that already. I said that was the part of them. They set the bar too high, so I don't have a problem with that last, paragraph right there. The upper part, him saying that she hasn't done anything in AEW to warrant such an announcement. It's an idea that she already has a certain level of exposure. Now, when she left AEW, she went on sort of a tirade. She went on hiatus that short time, let's say. She went on a little bit of a tirade about how she didn't need to work there. People were watching it because of her. Shaq only did that match because of her. Look, she's got an ego. And I don't know how true it is that certain things only happen because of who she is. and her connections. I don't know where her connections are. But to me, I look at Jade Cargill similar to Swerve Strickland. Swerve Strickland had it in his own mind that WWE cutting him was the worst possible thing that he could have ever done. Because he has all these mainstream connections, and he was bringing in Rick Ross, and he had, Funkmaster Flex or whoever the hell else was popping up in AEW. And then the AEW fan base was like, oh, this is pretty cool. He could have been doing this stuff in WWE, but they got rid of him, so now he's doing it in AEW. That's nice. Similarly, maybe Jade Cargill's got some celebrities or whatever that are friends of hers, or her husband is a baseball player, so she rolls with a moneyed crowd. Who knows who she knows? I don't know what she knows. She might be bringing something different to the table. Now, in terms of her career, no, she doesn't have much of a career. And to be quite honest, that's AEW's fault. They had her for 3 years and didn't do much, if anything, with her. No classic matches, no classic promos, but who was booking her? Tony Khan. Tony Khan did not book her to have a really memorable feud, and didn't really book any of her matches to be memorable either, because he didn't put any effort into building her as a star. He presented her as a star, which helped tremendously, because now when people have seen her, they have seen her entrances, they've seen her look, they've seen all the accoutrements of Jade Cargill. And that's really what WWE is cashing in on right now. So for him to say he doesn't care how she looks, well, then you're in the minority. A lot of people care about how she looks. She looks like a star. She's going to sell a bunch of action figures. At least she better. And that is what matters to WWE. At the end of the day, that's what they're looking for. That's what they're trying to get. They want a return on investment. But I absolutely agree that the bar was set very, very high. The idea that, AEW is going to sign Mercedes. Okay, that's good. They've been teasing that for weeks now, even before this deal was made. And to be quite honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Tony Khan doesn't do the same thing. When it's time for her to put pen to paper, and it's actually going to happen, I expect him to put out a press release. I expect there to be interviews and a bunch of stuff with her sitting next to him. They're going to hug, and everything is going to be great. And I'm going to say the exact same thing I'm saying now. That's cool, because it's one talent going from one place to another. Sasha Banks topped out in WWE. Now she left to do something else. Jade Cargill topped out in AEW. She left to do something else. There's no reason to get emotional about this thing. There's no reason to get upset about it. Talent comes, talent goes. And I think a lot of people are really getting, I don't know, and I think it is the tribalism. They're taking this stuff personally. And I think that ultimately, if Mercedes was to sign to AEW and it's announced on Dynamite, or it's announced at the Wrestle Dream show, or whatever event, it's still going to be a big deal, and AEW will be happy, and their fans will feel like they got the better of the two, because Sasha Banks is a indie wrestler who went through the WWE system, was very successful, and then she's going to go to AEW and bring that success level with her, and that'll be great. It'll be great for that audience. Do we expect a lot of the WWE fans to follow? Probably not. A lot of the Sasha Banks fans will follow, but a lot of the WWE fans who don't watch AEW, they're not going to watch AEW just to watch Sasha Banks. They may pay more attention, but I don't think it'll change that much. And since I think the crossover is WWE has more fans, it's not like AEW fans are going to watch WWE just to see Jade Cargill. They probably watch it anyway at that point. But WWE is going to take Jade Cargill to the next level. And that's a very important thing. And that's what we're looking for. And that's what Jade is looking for. We're looking to see where her maximum potential is. We want to see what the ceiling is for her. I mean, we've already seen the ceiling for Sasha Banks already. She's going to go over to AEW. She's going to do something different. That's going to add to her legacy. That's a good thing. That's great. But now we're going to get to see Jade Cargill become a legend. Hopefully. Let's put hopefully, because there's always a chance that this thing goes tits up. Still, there's a lot of intriguing matchups from a matchmaking standpoint to have with Jade Cargill, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Nia Jax. Some of the best women's talent on planet Earth are in WWE. They have the best resources possible producers, agents, everybody's really going to work hard to get her to the level that she feels like she can get to, or to get her as far as she can. Now was her opportunity. And that's different, markedly different from, AEW signing Mercedes. Tons of people have signed WWE main event talent and taken them to a smaller audience where they are huge stars and a smaller audience. Only WWE can take somebody who has been kind of middling here and take them to the next level. Very rarely. Only Hulk Hogan, I think, has been taken from, or maybe Scott Hall and Kevin Nash because of the NWO thing. Only on very, very, very rare occasions, and not in 30 years, has somebody taken a WWE sort of main event talent and taken them to the next level. It can only happen one way. And a lot of people are energized by the idea that this is possible, that Jade Cargill could be taken to the next level and to see her maximum potential be realized. And I'm okay with people being excited about that, even if I feel like I'm not entirely sure where her maximum potential is, but we'll see it. Now she's going to have all the resources necessary, the marketing and the promotion and the promos, everything is going to have to be on point. So let's see where it goes. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.